Welcome to the Rinkside Rundown podcast, showcasing the incredible women's hockey players from around the world through compelling interviews and discussions alongside your host, Chris Sinclair. Hello and welcome back to the Rinkside Rundown podcast. Today, I couldn't be more excited to be joined by a friend of the show and the very first ever guest on the show, Noemi Neubauerová, a forward who played this past season with Brynäs IF of the SDHL and is now the newest member of PWHL Toronto. I've been really looking forward to this. We've been chatting and I cannot believe that you're back and I'm so excited. Noemi, how are you doing?
Hey, Chris. Thank you. I'm doing great. I'm so glad to be back on this podcast.
Good. I'm so glad. And we have so much to get into. But before we do that, I want to say, if you want to check out, if you're interested in learning more about Noemi's career to this point, make sure, as I said, to check out episode number 1 of the podcast, because in this conversation, we're just going to dive right in. We're going to dive into this past season and the exciting new venture new stage you're entering in your pro career. So without further ado, let's reflect on this past season. What were your thoughts on what ended up being your last season out in Sweden?
Yeah, it was, I absolutely loved it. Like, I only have the best things to say about Sweden and about Brynäs. I've loved all the people on the team, the staff, my teammates. I think we've actually all clicked right away with everyone. So that was really great. Just coming to the rink, it was like seeing your very good friends every day. So that was awesome. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. I'm really, really glad I went through it with Sweden. And then now I'm also kind of sad, but I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to, Toronto and the future. So, yeah.
Good. Yeah. And so let's talk about this past season. What were some of the highlights, both, on the ice? And I think it's also fun to talk about what were some of the highlights off the ice this past season?
We went out to get fika. I think I talked about fika a little bit last time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a huge highlight for me. It was just great bonding time, even before a game, just grabbing coffee and a little cake or something. And just chatting with the girls, and also just having some time for myself. I've lived alone for the first time, really by myself. I didn't have any roommates, so just kind of the whole balance of figuring things out more on my own, but then going to the rink and seeing my friends or getting fika with my friends was really great. And then obviously, hockey, the games. I obviously love the games, so it's also a huge highlight.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that growth that you went through. And I think we're going to get into the hockey side of things in a minute. So let's put that aside. Let's table that for just a moment. But as a person, as you mentioned, this is the first time you've lived on your own, right? So what were some of the, what kind of growth or what kind of, or how did you grow as an individual off the ice with your time in Sweden, being, again, living on your own, having to kind of figure things out on your own, not necessarily having family there to be like, hey, listen, we've got you, just follow us. You had to do this all on your own. What was that like for you, and how do you think you grew?
Yeah, great question. I've lived with a lot of roommates in college for all of my years basically there. So I do have to say that it was a really, really nice change I love being around people so much, but then when I get home, I'm kind of more I like my space and just kind of being by myself, but I didn't really know it until just now. So I love the dynamic of being at the ring with the girls, but then coming home and making dinner kind of in peace. I didn't have to be in the kitchen with 6 other girls making dinner, you know, so a lot less stressful when it comes to this. But then also I just had like a lot of time to think and just kind of do whatever I didn't really have the time or energy or anything to do before. So it was really nice to just kind of like I've done a lot of reading. I've read so many books. I loved it, so that was really great, and I've learned a lot from those books too. And just kind of being with myself, I think, and with my own thoughts has changed my perspective on a lot of things, just in life and like where my life is heading and what I want out of it. And I've figured out that I've been so stressed in the past for just like rushing myself to make sure I'm everywhere, like this and that, and like being in constant stress. And so being in Sweden by myself for the first time, I've really kind of figured out that like I need to kind of breathe and like calm down and then think and like act. And I've seen a huge progress when it comes to this already, like throughout the whole year. So I'm super proud of myself about that.
As you should be, as you should be. That's fantastic. And I think more people need to be doing exactly what you just did. So let's challenge yourself, push yourself outside your comfort zone. They say it's cliched, but life begins at the edge of your comfort zone, right? So it sounds exactly like what you went through. And how do you think these experiences and what you've shared in terms of how you've grown as an individual, how do you think that translates now to your performance on the ice?
I think I do have to say I think I've gained a lot of confidence that I've kind of previously been like, I don't know what the exact phrasing is, but like knocked down, or it was like knocked out of me in the past. So I think just definitely from like just the environment there, the people around me that helped me kind of build my confidence back up a lot. And just also with kind of me and like taking my time to myself and thinking and working on myself and my personal growth. So I think the confidence is definitely like a really big thing that helps me on the ice to you know, be calm, not be as nervous, and kind of trust in myself and my abilities, that I know what I'm capable of. And I kind of got to know like my value too as a player and as a person. So it was really cool kind of seeing that.
Do you think that, so when we talk about your own personal growth, we're kind of going off the ice now, then just now on the ice, now back off the ice again. But do you think the like, was it a conscious decision for you to say, hey, listen, I really want to start focusing on me as an individual? Or was there someone who said like, hey, Noemi, like maybe you should slow down just a little bit, get out of your own head and just like read a book, or just like, do these fun things that don't involve hockey? What kind of went into that mindset shift for you?
Yeah, it was. So I think a lot of it was myself, but it was kind of like a mix of myself and how I've seen like my family or close friends kind of react to me. Like nobody went up to me and were like, you should do something with yourself, like you're not looking too great. Like it wasn't really like that, but you could kind of take hints from like the way people were treating you and stuff. So, and I kind of knew within myself too. I have to say, like last summer I felt a little bit kind of lost with everything like being done with college, and then actually was supposed to go to the PHF and then that got canceled. So it was kind of chaotic, and I did find myself in a like a tough mental kind of position. So, and I've realized it too over the summer, and I was like, okay, like that's it. I'm not gonna, like that's not me. So I'm gonna, well, then I've decided, I guess, kind of deciding to work on myself. And then Sweden actually came, and I was like, okay, like this is, with a good help of one of my friends, I've realized that Sweden's actually a perfect decision for me, and where I can like grow and kind of work on myself and play great hockey. So it like literally everything happened at like the perfect time for me. That's how I see it. And So I think like once I got to Sweden, that's when I really, really was like, okay, this is like a whole new start for me. Like I've never played in Europe before, like on this level. So I've got to meet the people there and realize that it's a very calm country, and I really liked it. So I took advantage of it and I started working on myself and spending more time by myself and kind of, I guess, healing and growing. And so it was, yeah, it was kind of I think it came from me a lot because I realized that's just not me. But it was definitely just from seeing the way people around me were like acting and interacting with me
Okay.
in a good way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate that that honesty, and I think this is a perfect segue into, you know, you talk about how you approached your own personal growth, and I think that's so key. And I obviously, like, first and foremost, that's great off the ice, but that does ultimately translate to the performance on the ice. And I kind of wanted to know a little bit as well, you know, now that we're in the off season, although let's be honest, there's never really like truly an off season in hockey, but you're not playing games right now.
Right.
You're still doing stuff, but um, could you talk a little bit about like how would you personally assess your season? And we're going to get into the international competitions as well in just a moment, but like for Brynäs, like how would you assess your season with them? And you know, as you go throughout your off season and as you're approaching, you know, joining the PWHL and training camps, like what are some of those things that you know want to maybe focus on in this off season?
Yeah. So when you say assess, like what exactly?
So how'd you think you did?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think, and we're talking hockey now.
Yes, yes, we're jumping all over the map. I'm keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, perfect. No, I love it. Yeah, so I think I did well. I think the start for me was a little bit, I wouldn't say like difficult or anything, but just kind of getting used to it, getting used to the bigger ice. Like I wasn't really used to that at all. Like I've never really played on big ice except for some like international competitions, but that was just a short period of time. So that was kind of a challenge for me. But like I said, like the people around me helped me so much that I barely felt any stress about anything, which was great. So I think overall, I think I did pretty well. There's always obviously work to do to improve on. So I'm very much aware of that, and that's how my off season's looking right now. I'm trying to work on all of those things that I figured out that I really, really need to work on during this season. So it's kind of nice to like being aware of the season and what I needed to work on, and then bringing it to the off season for being ready for next season again. So I think I answered like first part of your question, and I don't remember what the second part was.
No, and that's totally fine because it actually this is exactly you had mentioned that there were some of those things that you had identified as opportunities for you. I always like to say opportunities, never, you know, mistakes or anything like that. They're just an opportunity to improve, and that's totally fine. Could you talk about some of those things that you're like, you know, I want to become, although you're good defensively and you're a strong forechecker, but maybe like, you know, hey, like I wish that I was a better 200-foot player. I know it's a bit of a cliched thing, or like what were some of those things that you were like, you know, you don't have to go into specifics. I don't want to give away all your cards right now, but what are some of those areas that you're like, I would love to be better at this, or, you know, foot speed, edge work, you know, so maybe some of those things that you want to improve, especially as you're approaching approaching a couple of months from now, but you know, approaching training camp for Toronto.
Yeah, so one of the big things for me, and I've already actually I see like a lot of progress from like the summer before, because I'm working with the same conditioning coach that I've been working with for the past like 2, 3 or something like that years. And that was just like my conditioning and my breathing on the ice. And I've So I do see a huge improvement already, but I know I still have space to work on that and be a lot better and like really take that to my advantage on the ice. So that's like a really big thing. That's more, it's not like very much like skills hockey based yet, but that's like a big part of it. And then more like agility on the ice. I think I feel like I sometimes am a little bit like heady skating and a little bit like clumsy maybe even. So I think just being more like flowy and have a better acceleration I think would help a lot too. So kind of like stuff like that when it comes to skills I think I need to work on a lot too. So I have that in my, you know, on my list to do for the summer training definitely. And then I mean, I could go on and on, but another big thing that I think I need to work on is scoring. I've had a lot of opportunities for scoring that I just didn't score, and I think a lot of it. I don't even think that's necessarily like a skill set, because sometimes it's like it's literally a wide open net and you hit the post or something. So I think it's more like I feel like I need to work on that mentally a little bit. I'm not really sure how to go about it yet, but I'll keep you updated and I'll, you know, so I think that's something I need to work on too, and I want to work on too. So I'm really excited for it actually. I'm really excited to work on all of these things.
So this actually, it's really interesting. You had said about breathing, and I think that's something, you know, and I'm guilty of it of myself, where, you know, we look at the, you know, you know, that initial, you know, push off. They're just not fast enough on that initial, you know, whatever, however you want to phrase it, or you know, their edge work needs, you know, it needs to be improved, or I just wish they were quicker. All these sorts of things. You don't necessarily think about something like, yeah, just how do you breathe properly on the ice so that you're like, you can maintain potentially, you know, especially if you get in a position in which you're stuck in the defensive zone for an extended period of time on a on a penalty kill, for example, how you would address that. Is that something that you realized maybe this past season, where you're like, you know what, like I just wish that I was more like I could remain on the ice for longer and feel more comfortable? Because I think, again, that's something that people don't talk about. You just have to be able to breathe on the ice, right? So it's interesting that that's something that you're focused on.
Yeah, it's so for me actually, I mean what you're talking about and like actually breathing on the ice as you're skating, that's like a whole nother topic for me that I honestly think I really need to work on, because that's something that I, even when I work out, like the way I just like breathe in and out at the certain movements you do, like I'm not doing it right most of the time, so it probably translates on the ice as well. So I'm kind of trying to work on that off the ice. But also just in general, like what's a big thing is like recovery when you're on the bench, so then you're ready for the next shift. So it's kind of like being aware to like to actually breathe, like really like breathe in and out as you come off the ice. So it's like it's more like breathing when you're not skating, so then you're ready to go on the ice and you're more like refreshed, you know, your whole body, you get the oxygen in, so then you're ready again. So it's stuff like that. And it's not even really like that hard or complicated. It's more just the awareness of like, okay, like now I need to, like, I need to breathe now, you know? So I think, and you would love to have a conversation with my conditioning coach, because he knows like everything about it. I don't even know half of the things he knows. So if you want more detailed stuff, you can go to him. I'm sure he'll tell you everything.
I absolutely would love that, because it's one of those things that you don't necessarily think about, right? Like breathing, it's like you just do it, but you don't
Yeah.
realize the impact of not doing it well enough. And I think, again, this comes down to what you were saying, which is one thing is the on the ice, but another thing is the recovery when you're not on the ice. I think is, you know, to regain that, you know, so that you're ready for that next shift. And that's a really interesting perspective, and something that Not an athlete. Wouldn't even have thought about doing so. But I can relate to you on the workout part. I'm terrible with, even if it's yoga, Pilates. They always talk about like, you got to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, and I'm like, I forgot to breathe for 30 seconds there because I'm just focused on the movement. I had no idea that I hadn't even thought about breathing. So
Yep.
it's a perfect example of that. So I feel you on that one. I totally relate on that one.
Good. I'm glad I'm not alone.
Yeah, no, not at all, not at all. Um, you know, again, being able to chat with an athlete in the off season provides a really unique opportunity. We've kind of alluded to it a little bit, where we don't, we're not necessarily talking about games. We're talking about your training routine. We're talking about nutrition. And I think that provides a really unique perspective and window into what is it like to be an athlete? Because Lord knows I'm not that person, right? So I know I look like I'm built like one, but that's just a gift. That's just a gift. I want to know, are there certain areas of your game that that you think that your workout plan will help to improve? Let's start with your workout.
Okay. So, yeah. So, actually, you mentioned nutrition too, which is a big thing that I've also been kind of struggling to, definitely struggling, but also I just was not aware how much it can affect your game. So that was last summer. If you asked me last summer, like what it is to be an athlete, like in the off season, I would tell you it is awful because there was just so much stuff that I had to like really work on that was not even necessarily working out, but it was like literally nutrition. Like I had to work on it because I wasn't eating enough and I didn't know. So that's again the awareness key. So we figured out that I get tired really easily because I don't eat enough. So I worked on that the whole summer, and it's like not even that easy because like you at first you first of all you think you're just eating enough, but you're not. So then you're like, okay, you're not eating enough, so you need to start eating more. So you start eating more, and you just like you don't even want to eat anymore because you're like, okay, I need to eat it. I don't want to eat it. Like my body doesn't want to eat it because you're so used to not eating as much. So then just kind of getting that rhythm was not really easy for me. And I think I'm doing a lot better now, but I think I should be a little bit more aware of like what kinds of food, because you need to like balance out the protein and carbs and like all of that, fat and all of that. So it is still something that I think I'm a lot better at it than last summer, but it is something that can really, really affect your game without really anyone knowing. And it could just be like, oh, like you're not skating fast enough on the ice, you're tired easily, like you should train more. Like you should train more because you're conditioning sport. When it's not even conditioning, it's just they're not eating. And so I've noticed that is a really, really big thing that kind of has been affecting me in the past and is affecting me in a positive way now. And I just lost my train of thought. Can you
That's okay. That's okay. Let's actually, we're gonna pick up let's continue that conversation where because we'll get into your sort of work, like what kind of workouts you're doing now, but could you talk a little bit maybe more specifically about like the types? This can maybe sound like a silly question, but like what is your nutrition? Like how did you adjust your nutrition from before to now, and clearly you're feeling the impact of it? Like who went into those decisions? I'm sure there's a nutritionist, but who went into those decisions, or who helped you make those decisions? And then maybe more specifically, like what are you focused on consuming more now than you were before?
Yeah, so it was actually, I had a conversation with my conditioning coach at the beginning of last summer because I was telling him I want to work with him again. And so we started talking about that. And I, like, first of all, he noticed that I was tired. So he picked up on it, and then he started talking to me because he's seen it in a lot of athletes before. So he started talking like, oh, like what are you eating? Like what's your daily intake and stuff? So then we started talking about it, realized that I'm not eating enough. So then he made me download like an app where you can track kind of what you eat, and then it distributes like how much protein you get, how much carbs, and all of that. So he made me to get it. So I was tracking it for a week without just like not changing anything, just to track it to see like how much deficit I was in. And it was a lot, considering how much, like, as you put like your activity, like how much you burn during the day, just literally just living, and then on top of that like workouts and stuff. So you add all of that in, and it shows you how much like you need to eat and how much you're lacking. And it was brutal. Like my first, it was so bad. Like I was in the deficit of like 2,000 calories or something, like really bad, to a point where like in the future it can really mess with your health. Like you can start, you know, like something with your body, joints, like muscles and all of that can just kind of stop working for you. So I did that. We figured out that that's like a big issue that I need to work on. So then he kind of gave me like, okay, like this is some types of food that you should be eating that will get you the carbs you need or the protein. And then started using like protein shakes too, to just get the protein up, because I wasn't getting that enough, even though when I was like eating. So we kind of slowly started building up like I started being familiar with the foods and what kind of like what the distribution of the food is for you, and like how much it gives you, how much calories and fat or protein, whatever, like all of those. So that was really interesting. So I think I've kind of gained like a awareness of those foods, what's it like take or what to eat. So now I stopped using the app because I know what I'm eating now. So it's helping when it comes to that. But I think it's actually like a really good thing to look at that, just to download it. It's literally free, just to check out like what you eat during the day, like how much it affects you, and like what, you know, like what you're eating really, and if it gives you the energy you need for playing a sport or something. Because I think there's a lot of people that actually don't know that they don't eat enough. And then yeah, so when it comes to this, it was very, very interesting, and I'd recommend that to everyone.
Yeah, and let's talk about the, you know, your workout routine for the summer, especially again. You're a very, anyone who hasn't seen you play is missing out, because you are a very physical player. Now that you know, and we're going to get into the PWHL stuff in just a moment, but especially knowing that you're moving into the PWHL, which is clearly there is physicality allowed in this, which is something that you haven't seen internationally, which is great to see, plays well into your game. How are you approaching this season in your workout routine?
I'm not trying to change like all that much from last year. I'm just kind of putting all my trust, like I'm telling my conditioning coach everything. I'm like, okay, this is what I need to work on. This is like who I am as a player, and this is kind of who I need to be. So here's the information, please help me. So then he sets up the plan for me. But I don't think it's changing like all that much from last summer so far, from what I've been doing. And it's like a combination of kind of building up like the conditioning, and then obviously like lifting weights and strength. So it's like a balance between these two. There's been some running and like intervals to help with the conditioning, which has been kind of interesting for me, because I've never considered myself really a runner. But I enjoy it, and I do feel like it's actually helping me too. So that's nice. It's a nice realization I had about myself, that I can run, in fact. But I'm just kind of trying to stick to like the things I've been doing last year, which is kind of a little bit of a mixture of between the conditioning stuff, whether it's bike running and than lifting.
Fair. You had the opportunity again this year to be able to represent Czechia at the Women's Worlds. Could we talk a little bit about what that experience was like for you? Let's start there. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was actually really nice because it was super close to Colgate University, which is where I went to college. And so I loved, like, I've seen a lot of friends and people from there, so it's been really, really nice. So I loved just the atmosphere there too. There's actually a lot of people that came to watch, which is really nice. So appreciated that. But obviously overall, it was unfortunate we didn't win a medal. That was not what we wanted, the results, but I think there are some things to take away, to learn from, as a team or individual, but also just spending time with the girls again was fun, as it always is. So I enjoyed that part a lot. Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the off ice stuff. Let's talk about, like, just what was it like to be able to reconnect with some of those, some of your friends, some of, people that you may not have seen lately. What was it like? What was that experience like for you, just off the ice, just be able to hang out with people?
Yeah, it was amazing. I've seen people I haven't seen for many years, even from high school, that came up and just visit me. So that was really nice. And there was actually one of my, I kind of call her like an academic athletic advisor, although she'd be upset that I'm saying this position because that was not her position, but she basically was a very helpful person for me at Colgate. So I got to see her, which was really, really great. Hang out with her and just teammates too. I saw some teammates, which was great. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't say anything other than it was just great seeing those people that I haven't seen in so long and that came and supported me. So I enjoyed that a lot.
And we will be right back. This episode is sponsored by sports nutritionist Melissa Buffunos of MB Performance Nutrition. As a former competitive hockey player turned nutritionist, Melissa's mission is to help the next generation of hockey players optimize their diets and health so they can perform their best both on and off the ice. Ready to dominate on the ice? Melissa's new course, The Hockey Nutrition Blueprint, is available now. If you're serious about learning how nutrition can impact performance and building actionable nutrition strategies based on your unique needs as an elite hockey player, learn more and sign up at melissabuffunos.com/course. That's melissabuffunos.com/course, and make sure to use code Rinkside to save $50 off the regular price. Thank you to Melissa Buffunos for sponsoring this episode. And now back to the show. And what about, people may not know this about you, but you actually have a very good relationship with Sandra Abstrider.
Yeah.
So what was it like, did you have a chance to chat with her, hang out with her? I've seen, obviously, you've gone on some, I would say, trips together, but you've met up in various locations together this off season. What's it been like to be able to see her? Obviously, you two are really close.
Yeah. Oh my God. Amazing. I love Sandy so much. It's always so fun hanging out with her. So when we had the chance, when our schedules didn't collide, then when they did collide, no, didn't collide. Oh my God. My English is so rusty now.
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah. Yeah.
Whenever I'm in Czech for too long, it's game over for me. But basically when we could see each other, we did. We hung out. It was great. It was great playing against her too. Although it's always hard playing against a good friend, but she did great. And yeah, I mean, I love Sandy. We hang out all the time, like when we can. She doesn't live all that long from me, or that far from me. So it's really nice seeing her when I can.
Nice. Fantastic. And so obviously we've had a chance to, and I appreciate your perspectives on what it means to, approach your off season, you were open and honest about some of the things that you're working on as well, and I think that's amazing. We've talked a little bit about your this past season as well as your international experiences this year. Let's talk about the fun stuff now. You got drafted. So you had mentioned ultimately you had signed a contract in the PHF, but unfortunately, before you could play, the PHF was dissolved, formed the PWHL. So this is now like you're going to be playing pro hockey in the greatest women's league that we've known. First of all, what hearing that for the audio listeners, Noemi has a giant smile on her face, as she should. What does that mean to you?
Oh my God, it's absolutely amazing. I've been very grateful. I am very grateful that I've been selected, and Toronto too. I've had a amazing conversation with Gina, the general manager. So I'm very honored, and oh my God, I'm like talking about, I still can't believe it sometimes, honestly, that I've been drafted. But it's just amazing. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to get started and meet everyone. And I don't even know. I'm still in shock, but it's such an honor, and I'm so excited.
So I should have said off the top, and I apologize for bearing the lead on this one, but you were drafted 30th overall, which is absolutely incredible. Could you maybe, for the rest of us, like who have not experienced that, or hopefully one day waiting to experience that same sort of feeling, what is it like? What was that night like? What was going through your head as you were like watching the draft, as you were waiting for your name to be called? Like, do you remember it? Because I feel like I would just black out and I wouldn't remember a moment of it. Could you just walk us through, like, what's that experience like, and what are some of those things that you remember most, and maybe some of the people that were around you when your name was called?
Yeah, I remember it. I blacked out a little bit after my name was called, so I don't remember all that much from that. But I was in Czech, so it was 7 hours, I think it had actually. So me and my mom actually stayed up together to watch, and it was really nice of her to stay up and watch with me because it was a late night, early morning. But I was so nervous. I was trying to tell myself for like the whole week, I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna stress out. I'm just gonna, whatever happens, happens. Like if I get drafted, great. If I don't, then we'll figure it out as that situation comes. And so I was trying to calm myself down, but as the draft was going on, I was like, why are there so many breaks? Let's go. So I was so nervous, but then hearing my name being called, I literally just instant relief. Like me and my mom just screamed, started hugging. So it was really incredible. Although it was like, I think it was like 3:30 or something like that in the morning. So I was like half asleep, and I don't know, but it was really incredible moment.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. I can confidently say that when I heard your name called, I jumped up and screamed very loudly. Both partly because I was disappointed that you were not coming to Ottawa, because I obviously would have loved for you to come to Ottawa, but just to hear your name called. I know you've been doing a ton of hard work to get to this point in your career. To hear your name called, it was I scared my dog because I was screaming so loud that you got drafted. So I'm excited for you as your career continues now in Canada. And speaking of which, you're not just going anywhere. Arguably, at least in Canada, now this could be debatable for some, but the mecca of hockey, really, you could look at Toronto as being that spot, right? Toronto is so important. And this is tough for me to say, so important to the world of hockey. and you're now drafted there. You're going to be playing in front of an incredible fan base. When you think about this, is the first time you're going to be playing home games in Canada, in Toronto. What, like, when you think about that, like, this is a huge, like, is there even anything that you can say in terms of like what's running through your mind as you look at this incredible next chapter of your career?
I don't really have much to say. I'm still, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm still like not believing it. Sometimes I'm like, because it feels like it's so far away too. So I don't even know what to tell you, but everyone keeps coming up to me, whoever either saw the draft or asked me about it, and I tell them they're like, oh my God, like Toronto, that's so great. Like, that's the best city and all of that. So I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from people. So I'm just getting more and more excited for it, and to start there. But honestly, like my expectations, I think are like non-existent. Like I feel like I don't even know what to expect from it. Like the audience and like people watching like there's so many people there. I just feel like I don't like I have maybe something in my head that that's what it could be to experience it, but I don't actually think I know at all. So
Yeah, because
it's
that's
kind of exciting.
that's exactly my next question was going to be. Again, you're playing in Canada. Like, what is it going to like? First of all, obviously, hockey means a lot to you.
Mhm.
But hockey means a lot to Canadians, right?
Yep.
So, and especially seeing how Toronto did this past season, obviously it didn't end the way that any of the team would have wanted it to, but seeing the incredible streak that they went on the second half of the season, what does it mean to you to, again, play in Canada, but also play on that team that is led by, you're going to be playing alongside big names in this sport, right? Like Spooner, Nurse, Malte, Campbell. Like there are so many big names. Watts just signed there. Like
Mhm.
there are so many really big names that are incredibly important to the world of women's hockey. So what does it, again, what does it mean to, you're playing in Canada, but what does it mean to
Yep.
be able to play alongside some of these incredibly important women in the space of women's hockey?
Yeah. So I see it as like two things. One, I see it as first of all, I see it as a huge challenge. Like I know all those big names, like great, amazing players that I've played against at Worlds and stuff. So it's still kind of crazy for me to like be like, okay, like this is the people that are on the team. So it's a huge challenge for me that I love it. Like I'm like, okay, like great people. I wanna get to that level. Like I wanna be at that level. So that's a first thing. And then second thing, like even though it is a challenge, like it's also so exciting that I get to first I get to meet them and actually meet them as people. So I'm really really excited about that. And some of them already reached out to me and saying like, "Oh, welcome," and like congratulations. So it's really nice of them to reach out. So just kind of getting to know them, and then also with their like crazy amount of experience, I'm really excited to learn something and to just observe and like hope their like hockeyness kind of rubs off on me too. So it's these like really big parts that I'm really really looking forward to. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'm excited because again, this Toronto team is stacked. They keep getting better and better. It seems like they're re-signing everyone. They're signing new players, all this sort of stuff. So it must be so thrilling and exciting to. You're just like, you know what? Is it? Am I in camp yet? Because I really want to get to camp now. I'm sure that must, because that's how I feel. I'm sure that
Yep.
must be how you're feeling.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So, um, as has become a tradition on this show, and you're well aware of it because you were the very first person to go through this. This last segment of the show is what I call a very scientifically proven test that will help all of us get to know Noemi Neubauerová just a little bit better. Okay. So are you ready to take this test?
I'm sweating a little bit already.
Yeah. She's sweating more than you did playing internationally. This is a real skill. Yeah. This is a real skill testing question. So we're going to dive in. So you're going to be fine. You've got this. Okay. I want to know, let's start off with, what are you most proud of from this past season?
Ooh, this is rapid fire.
Yeah, no, it's we can spend as long as we want, or one of the things that you're most proud of. Let's broaden it to one of the things you're most proud of.
Well, this is super broad, but I'm just gonna say, like, just overall personal growth, like where I was when I started and where I am now, and that includes just personally, but also on the ice, just personal growth.
All right, I'll take that. That's a great answer. So we're going to get into a couple of music questions here now. Now, for anyone who doesn't necessarily know, there was quite the viral video of you. And I could literally, like, I wish I don't want to do the moves because I'm going to embarrass myself, but you crushed that video. What song was that? And is that something that has become a tradition for you to like this, like it was great. It was fantastic. Anyone, you need to check it out. But is that a song that comes on often?
It's like a team check tradition. Okay. So yeah, it does.
Is it a team check tradition that the song is played, or that you do what you did during that song? Because I think both could be the same.
So I don't even know when it started, but it's usually me and a couple of other players that, like, they just know it's like our song. So whoever's on aux, they play like before we go on the ice before a game. So it's become like a random tradition. And for me, like, it just gets me super fired up and pumped up because I'm a little bit crazy, if you haven't noticed yet. So are them. So it's like a perfect kind of way for us to get pumped up, get the team pumped up, I think, too, because there's more and more people joining at times. So love to see that. But yeah, I just kind of started, like, I honestly don't even remember how, but now it's a tradition. So, and I don't mind it. I love it. So
yeah, well, I'll tell you, it gets me pumped up as well to see you just crushing that. Speaking of music, again, we're gonna, like I said, we have a couple of music questions here because obviously it's something that you quite enjoy. So who owns the aux in the dressing room? Is there one player that primarily takes it? And then what would be some of the typical songs that you would hear outside of this particular one?
Yeah, so it can change a little bit, but it's mostly just a couple people that play. I think it's also like an unspoken rule. It's more like, all right, like whoever's like, take the aux, like, you got it. We like know who the people are and they just kind of take charge of it. Usually it's actually Dominika Lászková is a big one. Kateřina Mrazová also, Ottawa.
Yeah.
Loves being on the aux. Aneta Tejralová sometimes takes it too. Klára Himlárová. So it kind of changes like a little bit, but it's mostly the same, like 4 or 5 people. And there's a lot of like old Czech songs going on. Okay. Really, I don't even know like if it's a genre or something, but I don't even know what I would compare it to. It's really not even, it doesn't, like, you wouldn't think it would get you pumped up, but we just sing along to it. And it's great. I love it. I used to hate it, but now I absolutely love it. So that's kind of what's being played a lot, actually.
I guess it's one thing when you have like a real banger or something like that, just gets everyone fired up. But it's also another thing when like everyone knows the words to the song and they just like everyone's singing it at the same time. Like that kind of that can like just innately get you fired up. So that's just a different approach, but that's totally fine. Not what I was expecting, but that's totally fine. If you could listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be? Now, the caveat, and I always share this, it doesn't have to be continuously played, but if you're going to listen to a song, it has to be this song.
Okay. Ooh. I don't think I have one song. It changes for me quite a lot, but
okay, so what's the most recent song right now that would be on that list? What would be the most recent song that you would like, you know what, like right now I could play this on repeat? And I always like being on this. Yeah, I like being on this side of this question because I don't know that I'd be able to answer this.
You know what? I'll say Quinn. That's the artist. But I don't know. I can't pick a song. Oh my God. There's so many good ones. These are my favorite artists.
Okay, so so that would be, if you had to choose an album, would there be an album of Quinn's that you would want to? I don't know who Quinn is, so I'm just kind of winging this one. But would there be an album?
Check him out. He's great.
I'm going to after this. It's my homework. Is there an album?
The album. Yep.
Okay. What album?
People's Champ.
People's Champ. Okay. So that's my homework after this, is listen to that album. Okay, so you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to know, not to beat a dead horse, but I want to know, coming to Canada, what is something you're most looking forward to about the country of Canada, playing in front of these fans, playing in, Ontario's capital, not Canada's capital, but Ontario's capital? What are some of those things that you're most looking forward to?
Oh my God, so many things, like so many things.
Poutine has to be on that list.
obviously just like meeting everyone there, like the whole team, the whole staff. Like I'm really excited to, actually it hasn't been a trait of mine all that much, but recently I love meeting new people, so I'm super excited for that. And just for like the fans kind of interaction too. And I'm just like we already said, like I have no idea what to expect really, so I'm so excited about that, just to see that. Also just super excited to explore Toronto as a city more. I'm a huge city gal, so whenever there's gonna be some time off, I'm gonna be out somewhere, to finding cute cafes or getting lost and finding cool streets or something. So that I'm like super excited for. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know, like just everything. Just already being there. Can I already go? Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just gonna be Fika, but in Toronto, so that's all right.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll introduce them to Fika.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. What is something that remains on your bucket list that you want to check off next?
Ooh. I actually want to travel to Australia.
Okay. Anywhere in particular, and do what there?
Just a road trip, like Sydney, and just do a little car road trip around. I've never been, so I love traveling. So honestly, anywhere. I'm fine with anywhere. If I travel anywhere, I'm fine with it. I'm sure I'll find something to do.
Okay, that's fair. All right, and lastly, what's something people may not know about Noemi Neubauerová?
Can't use my pasta and pesto anymore. Alfredo. Damn it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you used that on the first episode. You can't use it now.
Oh my God. Something people don't know about me. I can do, this is so random, but it's the first thing that popped in my head. I can do like the belly dance. Not belly dance, but like I can move my stomach like this. It's really weird.
Oh. No, that's a belly dance. Yeah. I think that's
okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I can't. So
anyways, moving on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, this has been a long time coming, and you were the very first guest on my podcast. I can't thank you enough for taking a chance on this podcast the first time, and then remaining in contact up till this point, hopefully further, obviously. But coming back on the podcast today, this has been fantastic. As always, it's great to connect with you. It's great to chat with you. So thank you so much for hanging out, enjoying this conversation, and just sharing your off season. And good luck to you in this coming season in the PWHL.
Thank you so much. I loved it too. I enjoyed it so much. So thank you for inviting me again. I really, really appreciate it.
Good. Well, now I'm just going to keep asking you, so you're stuck. So
It's fine with me.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And there you have it, folks. For Noemi Neubauerová, I'm Chris Sinclair, and this has been the Rinkside Rundown podcast. Cheers.